The thing in the tree line. 3 people disappeared in Black Hollow last year. No bodies were found, no suspects were named, and no one in town seems interested in talking about it. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is this. Every disappearance happened the night before a new moon, and every time, someone reported seeing something standing at the edge of the forest, not moving, not hunting, just watching. If you ever visit Black Hollow and you feel like something is staring at you from the tree line, don't look back, because if you see it, that means it's already chosen you. Welcome to Moonlit Audio, a cozy little corner where you can lose yourself in stories brought to life through heartfelt narration. Here you'll discover a wide range of genres, from tender romance and emotional drama to gripping thrillers, fantasy adventures, and captivating myths. Each story is told in a warm and intimate way, so you can relax, connect, and immerse yourself in a world of imagination. No map lists the town of Black Hollow. If you drive along Highway 17 at night, you'll only see a rotting wooden sign by the side of the road, its letters nearly erased by time. People say it once read, "Welcome to Black Hollow, population 312. No one updates the population anymore. The first disappearance happened last fall. A 14-year-old boy named Daniel Harper. He only went into the woods to look for his dog. They found the dog. They never found Daniel. The second person vanished in March. A local hunter. His rifle was still there. His backpack was still there. Footprints led into the forest. None led back out. The town that isn't on the map. There's a town that doesn't exist on any map. If you drive down Highway 17 after midnight, you might see it. A broken wooden sign, half rotted, barely standing. It once said, "Welcome to Black Hollow. Population 312. No one updates that number anymore. The first person disappeared last fall. Daniel Harper, 14 years old. He went into the forest to look for his dog. Search parties found the dog the next morning, shaking, covered in mud. But Daniel was gone. No blood, no screams, no body, just trees. The second disappearance happened in March. A local hunter. His rifle was leaning against a tree, still loaded. His backpack was untouched, food still inside. There were footprints leading into the woods, but none leading out. That's when people started locking their doors before sunset, windows boarded, porch lights left on all night. No one says it out loud, but everyone in Black Hollow knows. The forest is awake. There's an old story the elders whisper at the bar. Over 100 years ago, the first settlers made a deal. Something lived in those woods, something old, something hungry. In exchange for protection and good harvests, the town would give it one life every year, willing or not. Tonight is the new moon. The Harper family locked their doors early, but they forgot something. Daniel was never found. And sometimes, a curse doesn't just take the living. Sometimes, it sends something back. And when it does, it sounds exactly like someone you love, calling your name from the trees. The oldest person in Black Hollow is named Martha Green. She never talks about the forest during the day. Only after the bar closes. Only when a few people are brave enough to stay. Only when the whiskey has burned enough to loosen her throat. She says, "Before there was a Black Hollow, before Highway 17 ever cut through the land, there was only forest. Forest so thick that sunlight never touched the ground. Forest so quiet you could hear the blood rushing inside your ears." The first settlers arrived in the winter of 1873. They built houses, they planted crops, they hunted, and then people started disappearing. At first it was livestock. Calves were found with their stomachs torn open. No bite marks, no tracks, just long slashes, too clean to belong to an animal. Then it was children, a 6-year-old girl, gone in the middle of the day, just steps behind her mother. No scream, only the wind moving through the trees. They say the settlers found it, deep in the woods, where the trees grew in a perfect circle, as if they were hiding something. In the center was a clearing. No birds, no insects, just silence. And in the middle of that clearing, a hollow tree trunk. Inside it some old, some not. That night, 5 men from the settlement went back to the clearing. They didn't bring rifles, they didn't bring torches, they brought a child. No one knows whose child it was. The church records from that year are missing a page. The next morning, the disappearances stopped. The crops grew stronger, the livestock stayed safe, children were born healthy, and 1 year later, Black Hollow became an official town. But there was a condition, once every year. On the first new moon of autumn, the town must return what it borrowed, 1 life. If they refused, it would come and take more. Martha says the curse doesn't kill right away. First, it calls you. It whispers your name between the trees. It mimics the voice of someone you love. And when you walk deep enough into the forest, you'll see it. Not its true form, but the shape of your greatest fear, or the face of someone you miss. Last year, Daniel Harper disappeared on the night of the new moon. But the town insists the offering had already been made. No one knows who they gave, or maybe they didn't give anyone at all. And if no life was offered that year, then the thing in the forest is starving. Tonight is the new moon again. And if you stand close enough to the edge of Black Hollow's forest, you might hear someone calling your name. Softly, gently, familiar, right behind you. The new moon rises without light. Black Hollow turns its porch lights on early. Doors locked, curtains drawn, phones fully charged. No one goes outside after dark. No one, except Caleb Turner. Caleb is 19, born and raised in Black Hollow. He doesn't believe in curses. He believes in stories people tell to control each other. And tonight, he wants proof. At 11:47 p.m., he steps past the last streetlight. His flashlight beam shakes slightly in his hand. The forest line stands ahead of him, still, waiting. The first thing he notices is the silence. No crickets, no owls, no wind. Even his own breathing feels too loud. He walks deeper. Leaves crunch beneath his boots. Every step sounds like something breaking. His phone loses signal 5 minutes in. He laughs nervously. Of course it does. Then he hears it. Footsteps behind him. Slow, deliberate. 1 step for every step he takes. He stops. The forest stops. He turns around. Nothing. Just trees. Real funny, he mutters. His voice sounds small, swallowed by the dark. Then he hears it again. But this time, it's not footsteps. It's a voice. Soft, almost gentle. Caleb. He freezes. That voice. It sounds like his mother. His mother died 3 years ago. Caleb, come here. It comes from his left. No, now from his right. No, behind him, right behind him. His flashlight flickers, just once. And in that single blink of darkness, something moves between the trees. Too tall, too thin. Its limbs bend wrong, like joints that don't belong in a body. The light steadies again. Nothing there. His heart is pounding now. Not fear, not yet. Denial. Caleb! Closer this time. Warm breath brushes the back of his neck. He spins around and sees it for half a second, not clearly, never clearly. A face stretched too wide, skin pulled tight over bone, eyes reflecting light like an animal's. But the mouth is smiling, and it's wearing his mother's voice. He runs. Branches tear at his jacket, roots grab at his ankles. Behind him, heavy movement, fast, not human, crashing through trees without slowing down. He doesn't look back. He knows better. But he can hear it gaining. Closer, closer, closer. Then, silence. He stumbles into the clearing, the circle of trees, the hollow trunk. He didn't know it was real. He does now. He feels it behind him, right at the edge of the clearing. It won't step into the center. Not yet. It doesn't need to. Caleb, it says again. But now the voice shifts, layered. Many voices at once. Children, women, men, all overlapping, all wrong. He realizes something too late. It never hunts by chasing, it hunts by leading, and he walked exactly where it wanted him. The last thing heard from the forest that night was not a scream, it was laughter, low, wet, and hungry. The next morning, Caleb's phone was found at the edge of town, screen cracked, recording still running. The final audio file is 37 seconds long. No video, just sound, breathing, branches snapping, and a voice that isn't human, whispering, 3 this year. 2 days after Caleb Turner disappeared, a stranger arrived in Black Hollow. His name was Ethan Cole, 24 years old, travel blogger, urban explorer. He said he was passing through.
Said he liked small, forgotten towns.
He had no idea how accurate that was. Ethan first heard about Black Hollow from an online forum. 3 disappearances in 1 year. No media coverage, no official statements, just silence. And in small towns, silence is never normal. He rented the only room available above the town's diner. The waitress barely made eye contact. The mechanic down the street watched him too long. And when Ethan asked about Caleb Turner, no one answered. They just said, tourists shouldn't wander at night. That's when he saw her, standing near the edge of town, right where the trees begin. She wasn't dressed like the others. No heavy flannel, no hunting boots, just a simple, dark coat, and eyes that didn't belong to someone afraid. Her name was Ilara Whitmore. At least, that's what she told him. She didn't live in town. She lived beyond it, near the Treeline, in a small cabin deep in the woods, alone. Why would anyone choose to live out there? Ethan asked. She studied him for a moment before answering. Some things don't come into town, she said. Her tone wasn't joking. Ilara only came into Black Hollow twice a month, to trade herbs, dried meat, handmade remedies. The townspeople avoided her, but they bought from her, and they never asked questions. Ethan noticed something strange. No one spoke her name out loud, not once. When he asked the diner owner about her, the woman stiffened. She keeps to herself, was all she said, but her hands were shaking. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. From his window, he could see the forest, dark, still, watching. At 2:13 a.m., he saw movement at the tree line. Not an animal, too tall. It stood there, perfectly still, as if it were looking at the town. Then it turned and walked back into the trees. The next morning, Ethan found Ilara again, this time closer to the forest path. You saw it, she said before he could speak. It wasn't a question. What is it? He asked. She hesitated, as if choosing the wrong word could cost something. It's not a monster, she said quietly. It's a debt. Ethan felt the temperature drop. Debt for what? Ilara looked past him, toward the town. For surviving. She told him something no one else would. The town doesn't just offer one life a year. Sometimes they offer someone who doesn't belong, someone passing through, someone curious, someone who asks too many questions. Ethan laughed, nervously. You think they'd sacrifice me? Ilara didn't laugh. They already have. That night is the harvest gathering, a tradition. Bonfire near the forest, music, drinks. Everyone attends, even those who pretend not to believe. And as Ethan watched the townspeople prepare the firewood, he realized something chilling. They weren't building the bonfire in the town square. They were building it at the edge of the woods. And Ilara, she wasn't invited, because she doesn't belong to the town. She belongs to the forest. If Ethan stays until midnight, he won't just learn the truth. He'll become part of it. Ethan thought Ilara was hiding from the town. He was wrong. She was hiding from something else. 30 years ago, there was another girl. Her name was Lillian Whitmore. She was 16, and she was chosen. It was a new moon, just like this one. The town said her family volunteered, but no one volunteers their child. Not really. They took Lillian into the forest, to the clearing, to the hollow tree, and they left her there. But something went wrong. That night, the forest did not stay silent. People in town heard screaming. Not one scream, many, layered, like the woods themselves were crying out. At dawn, Lillian walked out of the forest, alone, barefoot, covered in blood that wasn't hers. She never spoke about what happened, not to the church, not to the sheriff, not even to her own mother. 3 months later, she left Black Hollow, and she never came back. Until now. Ilara Whitmore was born 1 year after Lillian disappeared from town records. No father listed, no hospital record, no birth certificate filed in any county nearby. It's almost as if she was never meant to exist. Ethan didn't understand at first, not until Ilara showed him the scar, just below her collarbone, a thin, white mark, shaped like a crescent moon, burned into her skin since birth. "It marked my mother," she said quietly, "but it didn't take her. Her eyes didn't blink. It tried." Ethan felt the air shift around them. "What are you saying?" Ilara looked toward the trees. "It doesn't just eat flesh," she said. "It plants itself inside what it can't finish." Lillian wasn't supposed to survive. When she escaped, she carried something with her. Not a child, not exactly, but something the forest couldn't control, something it couldn't call back. Ilara stepped closer to Ethan, and for the first time, he noticed the necklace she always wore, a small piece of blackened bone, carved with symbols too old to recognize. When the wind touched it, the forest seemed to recoil. "It can't cross certain lines," she whispered. "Salt, iron, fire. And this." She lifted the bone pendant. "It's from the hollow tree." Ethan's throat went dry. "You went there?" Ilara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she said, "My mother didn't escape because it let her go. She escaped because something inside it chose not to finish the hunt." The bonfire crackled in the distance. The town was gathering, laughing, drinking, waiting. "They think they control it," Ilara said softly. "They think they feed it. But they don't understand." Her voice lowered. "It doesn't hunt because it's hungry. It hunts because it's growing." A branch snapped behind them, slow, heavy, too deliberate to be an animal. Ethan turned, and for the first time, he saw it clearly enough to understand one thing. It wasn't afraid of the town. It wasn't afraid of the fire. It wasn't afraid of the dark. It was afraid of her. And tonight, for the first time in over a century, the forest wasn't hunting alone. The bonfire burned higher. Laughter echoed at the edge of the woods. The town believed they were safe. They always do, right before something changes. Ethan couldn't stop staring at Ilara, at the way the firelight didn't quite touch her skin, at the way the wind seemed to move around her, not against her. "Why is it afraid of you?" he whispered. She didn't answer right away, because the truth is not something you say quickly. "When my mother escaped," Ilara said softly, "she wasn't alone." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" "She didn't survive it," Ilara continued. "She became part of it." The forest shifted, branches creaked, as if listening. "That thing in the woods," she said, "it doesn't just consume, it binds. It grafts itself into bloodlines, and sometimes it makes something new." Ethan's breath grew shallow. "You're saying, I'm not fully human?" She didn't look ashamed. She didn't look proud. She just looked tired. "I age slower," she said. "I heal faster. It cannot mimic my voice, and it cannot cross a boundary if I stand within it." The bonfire suddenly crackled violently. A scream cut through the laughter. The town went silent. Something moved beyond the tree line, tall, distorted, watching. But it wasn't hunting randomly anymore. It was focused on Ethan. Ilara stepped in front of him, and for the first time, her eyes changed. Not glowing, not monstrous, just deeper. Like looking into a forest that never ends. "I knew you were coming," she said quietly. Ethan's heart skipped. "What?" "I felt you before you arrived. In this town, I've only ever felt fear." Her voice trembled just slightly. "But when you stepped off that bus, it was quiet." The creature in the forest let out a low, layered sound. Not anger, recognition. It hates that I can choose, Ilara whispered. It was never meant to create something with free will. Ethan realized something terrifying. The town didn't just offer sacrifices. The forest didn't just hunt. It was trying to reclaim something. Her. Why me? Ethan asked, barely able to speak. Ilara finally looked directly at him, and in that moment, she looked almost human.
I have seen every face in this town, she said. Every year, every offering. I have never felt anything. Until you. The creature stepped closer to the firelight. Its shape flickered, half shadow, half flesh. Its mouth opened too wide. And when it spoke, it did not use his mother's voice. It used Ilara's. Come back. Ilara flinched, for the first time. It doesn't want to kill you, she said to Ethan. It wants leverage. It knows I won't let it take you. The bonfire suddenly went out. Not slowly, not fading, just dark. In the pitch-black forest, Ethan felt Ilara's hand grab his. Cold, steady, not entirely human, but not entirely something else either. If I stay, she whispered, it will never stop hunting you.
If I leave with it, it will leave this town alone. Footsteps circled them, heavy, patient, ancient. And for the first time since arriving in Black Hollow, Ethan understood. The curse was never about hunger, it was about ownership. And Ilara was never meant to fall in love. The darkness after the bonfire went out felt alive, not empty, watching, breathing, waiting. Ilara still held Ethan's hand. Her grip was steady, too steady for someone about to lose everything. If I go with it, she whispered, it will release this town. Ethan shook his head immediately. No. But his voice didn't sound certain. The creature circled them slowly, not rushing, not attacking. It knew something Ethan didn't.
Ilara, he said, there has to be another way.
She looked at him the way people look at something they already decided to lose. You don't understand, she said softly. It didn't just follow you here. It called you. The words landed harder than the cold air. What are you talking about? Ilara stepped closer. You think you found Black Hollow online? You think the disappearances were a coincidence? Her eyes searched his face. You've been researching missing persons cases for 3 years. You've been tracing patterns. Forests, small towns, new moons. Ethan felt his stomach drop. He had never told her that. You didn't choose this town, she continued. It chose you. The creature let out a low vibration, almost pleased.
You were born in October, Ilara said.
New moon, 24 years ago. The same year, Lillian Whitmore left this town. Ethan's chest tightened. That doesn't mean anything. But it did. He knew it did. My mother didn't just escape, Ilara whispered. She broke the ritual. For the first time in a century, the offering failed. And when the offering fails, something else is marked. The forest seemed to lean closer. It doesn't just bind bloodlines, she said. It balances them. When my mother survived, someone else was written in her place. Ethan stopped breathing. You were never a tourist, Ilara said gently. You were the correction. The creature stepped into the edge of moonless light, and this time, it didn't hide its face.
It was unfinished, like a body stitched together from shadows and bone, parts of it shifting, parts of it hollow, and deep inside its chest, a crescent-shaped mark, burning, the same shape as the scar on Ilara's skin. It wants you, she said, but it needs me. The town was silent behind them. No one came to help. No one ever does. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. We leave, now. She smiled, small, sad. You can't outrun a debt. The creature's voice layered over itself. Male, female, young, old. Return. Ilara turned toward the forest. Every step she took forward, the creature stepped back, afraid, but waiting. If I go willingly, she said without looking back, it will release you. It will consider the balance restored. Ethan's mind raced. Or it's lying. She stopped at the edge of the clearing.
For a moment, she looked almost completely human, vulnerable.
In love. I felt you before I saw you, she said softly, and for the first time, I wanted to be human. The creature extended something like a hand, long, twisted, patient. Ethan realized something then. If he lets her go, the forest wins. If he follows, the ritual changes, and somewhere deep in the trees, something older than hunger waited to see which one he would choose. The wind stopped, the forest held its breath, and Elara took one final step forward. Elara stepped into the forest. The creature did not lunge, it did not roar, it opened. Its body split along invisible seams, shadow peeling back from bone, like a door finally unlocked. Ethan felt something tear inside his chest. Not pain, recognition. The crescent scar beneath Elara's collarbone began to glow faintly, and at the same time, Ethan's skin burned, right over his heart. He gasped, fell to his knees, and when he pulled his shirt aside, there it was, a mark, faint, but forming, a crescent. The creature stopped moving. It wasn't watching Elara anymore, it was watching him. Elara turned, and for the first time, she looked afraid. "Ethan," she whispered, but her voice sounded different, layered, like something was echoing beneath it. Memories flooded him, not his own. Trees from a height no human could reach, blood in snow, children led into clearings, centuries of hunger, and something else, loneliness. The creature wasn't a single being. It was accumulation. Every offering, every broken ritual, every unfinished transformation. When Lillian survived, the bond didn't break. It split. Half remained in the forest, half was sent outward, waiting, growing, until it found a vessel strong enough. "Ethan, you were never meant to be eaten," Elara said softly. "You were meant to become." The creature let out a low tremor, not anger, fear, because the balance was shifting, not back to normal, forward, into something new. Elara stepped fully into the clearing, and the forest recoiled. The trees bent away from her, the ground cracked under her bare feet. Her eyes no longer reflected firelight, they absorbed it. "I am not your offering," she said, her voice carried through the trees without effort. "I am your end." The creature lunged, but it didn't strike her. It tried to merge with Ethan. Shadow racing across the ground, climbing his legs, crawling into his veins. He didn't resist, he couldn't, because part of him was reaching back. Pain exploded through him, then silence. Total, absolute stillness. When Ethan stood up, the forest no longer felt hostile. It felt incomplete. The creature was no longer whole. It was unraveling, threads of shadow tearing free, pulled toward him, drawn into his chest. Elara stepped closer. Not human, not monster, something older than both. "Choice," she said softly. "That's what it never understood." The remaining mass of the creature convulsed, shrinking, folding inward, until it was nothing more than a trembling shape at the base of the hollow tree. Ethan looked at it, and for the first time, he felt no fear, only clarity. "It fed on obedience," Elara said, "on ritual, on inevitability." Ethan extended his hand, and instead of consuming the last of it, he let it dissolve. No offering, no replacement, no cycle. The crescent mark on his chest stopped burning. It darkened, then faded, leaving only skin. The forest exhaled. Birds returned. Wind moved freely again. The oppressive silence was gone. Back in town, the people of Black Hollow felt something shift. An absence, like a weight lifted, like a debt erased. Elara looked at Ethan. Her form was stable again, but different, stronger, no longer bound to the clearing, no longer tethered to the town. "You didn't destroy it," she said quietly. "You changed it." Ethan looked at his hands. They were human, but he could still feel it, a quiet presence. Not hunger, not control, just awareness. The curse was never meant to end. It was meant to evolve. And now it had. Weeks later, travel blogs would list Black Hollow as quiet and charming. No disappearances, no strange silences, no new moon rituals.
Sometimes, when Ethan stands at the tree line, the forest leans toward him, not to hunt, not to call, but to listen. And beside him stands Elara, not human, not cursed, not prey, something else entirely. Elara stepped into the clearing. The creature opened. Ethan felt the mark burn.
Everything happened the same way. Until it didn't. The shadow rushed toward him. It entered his body, and this time, it didn't hesitate. Ethan screamed, not in pain, in recognition, because what flooded into him wasn't just memory, it was instinct. Hunt, consume, balance, grow. Elara felt it immediately. The forest did not recoil. It leaned closer. "Ethan," she whispered. But his breathing had changed, too slow, too steady. The crescent mark on his chest didn't fade. It split, one becoming two, then three, like phases of a moon that doesn't follow any sky. The creature at the hollow tree began to unravel, but it wasn't dissolving, it was transferring. Every scream from every ritual, every bone in that trunk, every unfinished offering, all of it pouring into him. Elara stepped forward. "You have to fight it." But Ethan looked up at her, and his eyes reflected no light at all. Not animal, not human. Empty, deep, ancient. "You were wrong," he said, but his voice carried layers beneath it. Children, hunters, settlers, all speaking at once. It was never hungry. The ground beneath them cracked. Roots twisted upward like reaching fingers. The trees bent inward, not away, toward him. Elara realized the truth too late. The curse wasn't meant to evolve. It was meant to migrate. She was never its successor. She was containment, a boundary, a lock, and Ethan was the door. He stood slowly. The remaining shadow at the hollow tree collapsed completely. Nothing left behind. No bones, no darkness, no curse. Because it was no longer in the forest. It was standing in front of him, breathing, smiling. "You feel it too," he said softly. And for a moment, his old voice flickered through. "Scared, lost. Help me." Elara stepped closer, careful. If she crossed into him fully, there would be no boundary left. The town lights flickered in the distance, one by one, going dark. Ethan's shadow stretched unnaturally long, not cast by moonlight. There was no moon. It moved on its own. "You wanted freedom," the layered voice murmured. "This is freedom. No rituals, no offerings, no cycles, just movement, just expansion." Elara felt her strength weakening. The symbols on her pendant cracked, splintered, turned to ash in her palm. The forest began to breathe in rhythm with him. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Birds fell silent. Wind stopped. But this time, it wasn't emptiness. It was anticipation. Ethan took a step toward the town, and the trees parted willingly. "Elara," he said gently, "you can come with me." Not a threat, an invitation. Because this new thing didn't hunt in forests. It didn't wait for new moons. It didn't need rituals. It walked. And wherever it walked, balance rewrote itself. Elara stood alone in the clearing, the only thing that could have stopped it. And she understood something horrifying. The curse didn't fail. It succeeded. Black Hollow would not lose one life a year anymore. It would lose everyone, slowly, quietly, without even knowing why. Weeks later, people in nearby towns would report strange things. Missing hikers, voices in empty houses, shadows that didn't match their owners. And sometimes, if you stand at the edge of a forest at night, you might hear someone call your name, not from the trees, but from behind you. Because it no longer lives in the woods, it lives in us. Black Hollow no longer reports disappearances. There are no more rituals, no more offerings. The forest is quiet now, too quiet. Ethan was never seen again. Some say he left town before sunrise. Others say they saw him walking down Highway 17, alone, calm, smiling at nothing. Elara hasn't returned to the Treeline. But sometimes, when the wind moves through the trees, it doesn't sound like wind. It sounds like breathing. And lately, in towns far from Black Hollow, people have started mentioning something strange. Voices that sound familiar, shadows that don't match, the feeling of being watched, not from the woods, but from the room behind you. Because the forest was never the prison, it was containment. And if you're listening to this right now, late at night, with the lights off, and you suddenly feel like someone is standing just outside your door, don't open it. It doesn't need you to. And that is where this story ends, for now. Subscribe and join Moonlit Audio, where new stories wait for you every single night.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I write and narrate original stories here. All stories on this channel are written and created by me. Thanks for watching.